Hi Scrubs, I hope you're well. So this video is requested by Clorox Juicebox and I'm going to be talking about how to find foundations in the sales and how to network with other players in order to find them. So the first thing that I just want to talk about is that the definition of what is a foundation or a foundie has slightly changed. So it used to be that all foundations started off at 350 GP. That's no longer the case. Howrse has since changed it that this number will increase depending on the top genetic potential horses on the entire server. So a foundation not necessarily is going to be that genetic potential. So this is an example of another one here that is also a foundation, but you can see it's got a much higher genetic potential, substantially higher. It's even got lots of excellent stars. So what makes it a foundation? It's actually the origins here. The origins are what make a foundation. So it will always be Uranus and Gigai, which is basically why they are a foundation. So all divines have the same origins, all foundations have the same origins. So any horse that doesn't have this sire and this dam, they are not a foundation. That's basically the best way to put it. But the GP can change. So the first thing you're going to need to do is decide what kind of foundation you want to work with. Do you want to work with the foundations from the earlier parts of the game that were much lower in GP and work with those, or do you want to just go straight in with some of the higher genetic potential ones? That's the first thing you need to figure out. Or maybe you want to work with both. Maybe that doesn't matter to you. But that's the first thing you need to figure out. The next thing is, and I think this is one of the best things to do, is go into the forums, because there are, in most servers, NIB breeding forums, where you will find lots of like-minded individuals. You'll be able to find out who's working with what foundation breed and so forth. So it's kind of a good way to figure out who is working with them. Therefore, you'll be able to figure out, right, who could I buy from, who could I sell to. Those are some things to, take from that. So if you have that in your forums, go and have a look, because most servers seem to have it. So the next thing is obviously finding out a bit more in terms of who's selling. So I think the easiest thing to do is actually to go in and look for immortal horses to start with. And because the GP varies so much per server, it's not necessarily going to be always that easy. It's got a little bit more difficult, because it used to be that I would just look for ones that were lower than about 352, and that's usually how I went and looked for foundations. You can see there's a decent amount here. Now I'm on international at the minute, and there's a lot. You can see plenty of foundies here. So obviously you want to figure out what breed you want to work with. So if I want to make this a little bit, more specific, I could look for Alcatikis. And the reason most foundations are immortal is because whenever new players do the tutorial, they generally are given an immortal, a philosopher's stone that makes the horse immortal, and they have to put it on the horse. So that is why I usually look for immortal horses when I'm looking for foundations. It usually makes it a little bit easier. Now you can see we've got a couple here, maybe just not as much variety, but you're going to need to identify what breed you want to work with first. So this is a good way to figure out who's selling them to start with, so you can identify the people who tend to be selling lots of foundations, particular breeds and that. And obviously some people who collect foundations of one specific breed will also buy foundations of another breed, even though they're not going to use that in their breeding programs. So sometimes it's worth talking to them, because they might pick up horses in sales that you might then be interested in buying. Vice versa, you might pick up horses that they're interested in buying for their particular projects. So that's something worth doing as well. So if you're looking at who's buying as well, you just, you might see other ones that are going to be picking up horses that you might miss, and therefore it's worth talking to them, because they might be able to sell you on some or whatever. Now, sometimes there are going to be people who I would say are more dealers in terms that they buy horses knowing that people want them. That is going to be a little more expensive, and I have used that in the past as well. So I'm just going to go here and look at Point Hunter tab. These are most of my foundations on international that I collected over a very long period of time. There's probably about 500, 600, and I originally wanted about 1,000. Some of these I went through and found myself. Some of them were from, there was a very small number are probably from the stones, and the rest probably from advertising, on my own page, that I'm looking for foundations and I'm paying so much for them. Because that's the other thing as well. If you're talking to people saying, I'm interested, let's say, in Gypsy Vanner's foundations, give them a price range that you're willing to pay, because if they come to you with demanding 3 times the amount and you go no, you know, if you didn't set a budget, they have no idea what you're kind of, you know, willing to pay. So like I did that a lot on UK. Whenever I was collecting a lot of Agent Point Hunters, I'd say, right, this is how much I'm willing to pay. I'm not willing to go over this. So that just is something to think about. Obviously you're going to get horses that are worth paying a bit more for, so you might say, right, I'm willing to pay this much for horses that have a little bit of training, and I'm willing to pay this much for a horse that's fully blocked. So just bear that in mind as well, and please don't be afraid to talk to people, because that is really the only way that you manage to amass this many. Don't be going into the gameplay forums and posting saying I'm looking to buy foundations and that, because you'll get chased out of the forum so quickly. You know, do go in and into the NAB breeding forums in your server and have a look and see who is working with them, because you might find people who are working the same breed as you. They might have some horses they're willing to sell you, not necessarily, but could do. And obviously do look out for the people who, you know, the people who are selling masses of horses, because they tend to pick these things up, but you might just pay a little bit more for them. So those are some of my main tips for working with NAB breeding in terms of getting the horses to start with. And then once you have done that and you've got a good basis of horses, then you can start to work with them and build up your generations. So that kind of, I'm hoping that sort of covers most of the main bases there. But as I said, you need to talk to people, you need to look in the forums, you need to figure out who's buying, who's selling, and hopefully get the foundations that you want. So thank you to Clorox Juicebox for requesting the video. I hope you had a lovely day, scrubs, and bye guys!